TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey guys, it's what is today? Today's Tuesday. It's kind of a big day in Major League Baseball, right? It's Tuesday. Today is July 30th, the last day of July. Welcome to my show. This is In the Batter's Box. My name is Scott Webb, and it's kind of a big day in a sense that, today is trade deadline end day. So I don't want to spend, a lot of time on trade deadline stuff. We can deal with that maybe another time. But there were some big things happened, and I think one of the things that we need to kind of keep in mind is two sides to trade deadlines. I think that some of these teams that made some deals, the Marlins traded almost everybody they have. The Rays traded a lot of players. Some of these teams are getting players and, feel really good that their ownership has supported them. And, sometimes that's a big step in a clubhouse and gives a team some motivation and support. Some of these teams may feel as though they didn't get a lot of support and are struggling with the idea that their ownership didn't do anything with them. So we need to sort through a little bit of that stuff. Hey, Daniel Barry, welcome. It says, hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Yes, it is Tuesday. And, as we go, there's a couple other things we should probably talk about. One of them being is, I think on the show yesterday, I was 1-2. When my guys, I was 1-3. So another bad day. Says Jay Barry wants to know what my thoughts are with Luis Garcia going to the Red Sox. Well, I think this about relief pitching, especially right now. So when you're getting into these playoff races and playoff runs down the stretch, starting pitchers are important to go, say, 5 innings, maybe 6, but they got to go 5. And then if you have a deep enough bullpen and you open up the bullpen door and these guys come running in and out of the bullpen and they can throw 100 miles an hour, the other team doesn't score. So you shorten the game and give your team a chance to win. So when you get bullpen pieces and you get good ones, you have put yourself in just as good a position to win as any team out there. I saw some of these guys are making trades, you get, say, a Paul DeYoung or whatever. But whatever. I mean, a veteran guy to come off the bench, or maybe he plays a certain role for the Royals. Maybe he plays third base, or I don't know where they're going to put him. But the point being is that you can't do, better than getting a relief pitcher. And they did. They got, I don't know how to say his name very well. Erceg is his name. It's his last name, from the Oakland A's. And when Mason Miller went down, this guy stepped in as the closer, and he was the setup guy right before Mason Miller before. And he's another guy that comes in and throws 100 miles an hour. I mean, it's just so I like any team, and especially here with the Red Sox, because let me just double check what the actual, I'm so always looking at projected numbers that sometimes I don't look at the actual numbers. And, the Red Sox in the wild card race right now, they are 1 game behind the Royals, 2 games behind the Twins, and 4.5 games behind the Yankees. And then I guess, the Yankees are probably a half game behind the Orioles. So that puts them, within a handful of games of those teams. So the reality is that they needed that. right? I mean, those guys, they needed bullpen because like when I do my numbers and my score predictor comes out and it starts to look at what the bullpen has done over the last 14 days, it's throwing like 3, 4, 5 runs on there against them. And, you're not competitive when your bullpen doesn't shut other teams down. If you go in and you add gas to the fire or you got the lead and you can't hold it, those are big problems. And, truth be told, I'm not the biggest Kenley Jansen fan. At one time, maybe so, but as a current status, I don't think that if he comes out the bullpen to close down a playoff game, that to be honest with you, I don't know if he's any better than Kimbrel would be for Baltimore. So the truth is, I think that yes, Luis Garcia to the Red Sox is a good move. I think when you start to think about a lot of stuff, some of these things make a lot of sense to what some of these teams did. Not that I want to get into a whole lot of stuff here, but I've been waiting all day. Jack Flaherty got scratched from his start yesterday, and there was a lot of conversation about Jack Flaherty and where he was going to go, and then it waited right to the very end, and the Dodgers get Jack Flaherty. Well, the Dodgers needed pitchers. The Dodgers are starting, River Ryan and stuff like that. So this is a team that needed help. They're going to have Kershaw and those kind of guys, but Kershaw's made one start the whole season. They're going to have Glass now and all that and ready to go. I don't know if Yamamoto is going to be ready or not, but the issue with the Dodgers is going to be is if you need to get into the playoffs, when you're in the play, you need 3 pitchers. And certainly you need 2 major studs at the front. And if they can get Glass now to pitch really well, and they can get Jack Flaherty to pitch like he's been pitching for the Tigers, with the offense that the Dodgers have, that's a whole different, it's a whole different thing. I'm surprised maybe a little bit that the Dodgers went and got a lot of smaller pieces. They piecemealed a lot of players together that can play a lot of different places and do different stuff. Hey, George, how you doing? George says, rest in peace, Dave Koken, a legend in the sports betting industry and a pretty good MLB guy. And there's no question. I forwarded that along a long time ago, this morning. I don't know Dave personally, but, you can see my hair and I'm thinning on the top. And back in the day when I was younger, and one of the first things I ever did was see a show I think it was called Pro Action, maybe. And he's on TV, and it was Dave Koken and some Chip Cherembus and a couple other guys, and they would break down games, and it was okay. I mean, but it was an introduction to hey, this is kind of a cool thing. People actually bet on these games. I was back in Ohio then. I was still playing ball and doing stuff, so gambling wasn't on my four screen. But at the same time, that's how I learned of Dave Koken, and then over the years, have watched him and did some things when he was with WagerWire and some of the other places that he's been. And look, cancer is not a good thing, and a lot of people get that disease, and in some cases you can fight it and do different things. And Dave was at a point where he announced over Twitter, and it's not me announcing anything. It's just that he wasn't going to fight it, and that was a long time ago that he got it, and then he had to be put into hospice. So there's a very short time. So people knew, and everybody knew what was going on, and I think he lasted maybe anywhere from 30 to 60 days from the time that he put out that tweet. So says Scott threw Ken Griffey Jr. out at second base when he played. Well, that is true. That is sort of my claim to fame when it comes to what I've done as an athlete. I don't want to take my shirt off because that'd be embarrassing, but I've got a scar on my shoulder, my throwing shoulder here. It says Brady Vassie is I'm fighting cancer. So far, so good. Brian, my mother-in-law has cancer, and she was just diagnosed with it 2 weeks ago, and she's 91. She's fought pretty hard. She's been a smoker all her life. Obviously she's not going to be with us that much longer. But it's one of these things where, everybody's mentality towards it is different. So I don't know how old you are. I don't know what your situation is, but if you're going to fight it, God willing, I want you to fight as hard as you can. Right. So, I'm kind of the mindset that if you're going to do something in this world, you're going to have a lot of outside interference. You're going to have people wish you really not in success more than anything. So when you are fighting and you're trying to achieve something, no matter what it is, whether it's sports betting and making a bet, or whether it's you're going to the job today and you've got a project and you got to get this thing done, or it's some kind of relationship thing with your spouse. Look, all I want to try to tell you is, you personally are in charge of you. No one else. No other influence. No other outside resource, nothing. So don't let anybody, and I mean this 100%, because I'll get into it in a minute, but I mean this 100%. Don't let anyone change your focus or change your attitude or goal. If they don't support you, don't help you get to where you got to go, they're not part of that. You don't need them around you. I hate to be crass and I hate to be so simplistic, but I would rather have less friends that get in my way, and have more people that are in a smaller bunch that are fans of mine, that think similarly to the way I do, and motivate me to be successful. And when you're going through cancer or you're going through treatments, my mom had her breasts removed, both of them. She's fine. Everything's good. She's not been, she doesn't have any cancer now. But I've seen it. I know what it's like. The hair comes out through chemo, and, she's a female. So you go bald, and man, it's hard on people, and it's just, it's rough. But if you fight and you go through it your way, whatever way that is, and whoever it is you look for support and whatever guidance you get, just remember that you're in charge of you, no one else. So you make the calls, you make the choices, you make the decisions. Now I'll tell you a really quick story, because I'm sure you guys don't want to hear all this crap. But my dad died 2 years ago. And I learned a lot from my dad dying about the way doctors work. And I said, never again. Will I put myself or my family or anyone else that I care for in an environment or a culture in which things are allowed to happen that shouldn't? So my dad had quadruple bypass heart surgery several years ago. He was a diabetic, and he had lots of things wrong with him. And he goes to the hospital, and they think there's something, they want to check something on his lung. That's how this happened. So they go in and they do like a little biopsy to take a little chunk of his lung, and then they want to see what it is or what's going on. Well, he never woke up. They had to make him comatose for 2 weeks. So the drug, and I don't know the name of it off the top of my head right now, but the drug that Michael Jackson overdosed on is the same drug my dad was on for 2 months or 2 weeks. to keep him comatose so that he wouldn't, freak out and die and all that stuff, because they messed up, right? So after he kind of started to wake up from this coma thing, he was like a third grader. I mean, you talk to him, and he knew who you were, but you couldn't make sense. It was awful. You talk to his family doctor, you talk to the surgeon, you talk to the cancer people, you talk to everybody else. Nobody's in charge of him. They all made mistakes. They all did all these different things, and you know what ended up happening? He started to recover. He came back to life a little bit. He ended up going back to the hospital, and he decided himself he was tired and he didn't want to fight, and he was done. So he gave up, and he died in the hospital. But I remember talking to doctors, and I remember talking to the nurses, and I remember that they don't talk to each other. So my dad was on 25 different pills at the end, 25, to control all these different things in his life. And one pill would counteract something another one did, so they had to give him another pill to make all this, he had to have 3 pills to make one thing work. And it's awful. So, but I will say this: if you don't like what's going on in your life, change it, because it's your life. You forget, like when you're in a hospital, that these people are supposed to be caring for you as best they can. And that's not true. They don't. So I would tell you to go to the best place that you can research and go there, and do everything that you can do. And if you don't like it, you're there by your choice. Get up and walk out of the hospital. I know that sounds ridiculous and all that stuff. But based on my experiences and what I've been through and what I've seen other people go through and all the different things, I'm telling you, I'm a pretty hard guy. And I don't take soft well. I don't take soft people well. I don't take soft opinions well. I don't, look, when I tell you to be convicted when you go to the window, I'm not making that shit up. I'm telling you that because you need to be very understood of what you're doing when you walk up to that window to make a bet, right? Otherwise, give me your money. I'll go make those bets myself. Because if you don't care whether you win or you lose, just give me your money. Because I do. That's my point, right? My point is everything in your world and your life is about you. Make it so. Make every decision and every choice favorable to you and your family and the people around you. Who cares about everybody else? And I get it. We got to be social to our neighbors. And I'm not telling you not to be social. I'm just telling you that you need to be good for you. You need to be good for your family. And you need to give them and yourself the best you have to offer every day. Every day. If you don't, you're doing a disservice not only to you, but to them. And if you go to bed every night and you feel like, oh, I didn't do a very good job today, well, shame on you, because you let other people down, including yourself. My wife told me the other day, she's like, look, you got to win a baseball bet today. I'm like, okay, I get it. She said, I don't want to put pressure on you. And I said, babe, you can never in your wildest dreams put more pressure on me than I put on myself. You can't. It's impossible. I strive to be the best at whatever it is I do every single day. And sure, you got moments of weakness and you have different things and you're never perfect. And I get all of those things. You make mistakes. Yeah, but at the same time that all of that stuff happens, trust me when I tell you guys that you're going to be, if you can get up every day, be motivated to be successful every day, make great decisions every day, take steps forward every day, you'll never look back. Because who gives a shit was what's behind you? Everything you live for is for in front of you. And that's the gift that always gives. That's the best thing in life. is to get up every day motivated to go be successful and then go do it. You know how many men, real men, don't do that? It's amazing in our world, in our, whatever you want to call it, however it's culture. That's a good word. In our culture, it's my wife calls it the participation trophy culture. I'm not a participation trophy guy. I go win poker tournaments because my skill set and book reading and catalog and skill set is learned better than what everybody else is, right? So it is what it is. George says, good life advice. Tell the wife it's just a baseball game. Yes, I agree. It's just a baseball game. I agree with that. So I just think that way. Okay, guys. And look, I'm sorry to kind of go off on a tangent there, but you know what? Cancer is a big deal. Fighting for life is a big deal. What's going on in Venezuela right now is a big deal. And look, I'm not a political guy. I'm just not. But at the same time, what's right is right. And stop being weak. Stop letting people dictate to you what life is. You go make your life the best life possible because you live here and you have that option, right? And don't let anybody take those choices and options away from you, right? That's the way it works. So anyway, that being said, we got picks and we got stuff to deal with. And I didn't mean to go that way, but sometimes I guess stuff happens. Plus that gave us time to get some more people on. We got like 140 people on here now or something like that. I don't know. So let's see, what do we got going on here? We have, trying to look at my time frames, show play. Where does that game goes? Over here. Let's go with, that game starts at 7:10. So we just got a little bit of time. So let's go into this one. This one is, this is the New York Mets playing the Minnesota Twins today. And let me get over here to my data, my numbers, so we can break this game down and see what the lines have done since I kind of did this morning. All right, so the Mets are playing the Twins, and this is great. This is exactly the stuff I was talking about yesterday, to a degree. So I like the Mets today. 921, 922. This is Sean Manaea against David Festa. The Mets won yesterday, scored a lot of runs. And you're going to hear people say this all the time. They're going to go, well, the number one thing in baseball is look for teams that score 10 runs or more or whatever it is, and bet against them the next night because they don't score like that 2 nights in a row. They got all their hits and they got all their runs that day. They're not going to do it 2 days in a row. That's not right. So if you're making wagers based off of that, don't. If you're using that as a checkpoint, so to speak, to where you want to go dig deeper, that's okay. But don't make a bet because of that thought, because that's not the way it works. Otherwise, the number one offenses in baseball, you won't ever bet on them. Why would you not want to bet on the number one offenses in baseball? They're going to score a bunch of runs in 3 or 4 or 5 games, and then they're going to quit scoring runs. So you want to capitalize when they're hot. You don't capitalize one day and not the next. You want to use that to your advantage, not a disadvantage, right? So in this particular game, what I saw was this line, the overnight line was minus 140 for the Mets. On my notes, I have it at minus 120, and if I look at it right now, the number on the game is minus 111. Is that what it is? I can't see it. It's minus 111. So that tells me the Mets are on sale Because if it was supposed to be 140, okay, I get it. That was the opening number. So then a couple people make some numbers, the bets, they make some adjustments to it. It opens back up this morning at minus 120. All right, well, it's kind of on sale already. And now people are still betting on the Twins. And I guarantee you they're betting on the Twins because, okay, the Mets scored a lot of runs yesterday, right? So let's look at this game and go, Scott, what the hell are you doing? Why are we talking about the Twins? My odds on the game was minus 120 for the Mets. So at minus 111, I got them on sale, right? So if I change this to minus 111 and then make this 101, that becomes 3.7% EV positive. Make that bet 1,000 times, you're going to come out ahead. That's kind of how that works. So then I flip this over and I go, all right, let's look at David Festa for a second. Now, the first thing you got to know about David Festa is this will only be his third start. Now, he has 2 starts, and he has one game where he had an opener pitch for him, and then he pitched 4 innings. So he hasn't pitched a lot. He's a young kid, throws real hard. He's a little skinny kid, little tiny kid. But his SOPS plus in the last 28 days, 199. So he's the worst guy on the board today, the worst one. So if he can't control the opponent's offense, that's a problem. And then Sean Manaea, he's an 85 SOPS plus. So he controls the opponent's offense at 15% better than what an average pitcher does. So that went and said, oh, that's pretty good for me. I need to look at this for a second. Sean Manaea's made 20 starts for the Mets. He's won 13 times. So almost 2 out of 3 bets at the times he starts. Almost 2 out of 3 times he goes and wins the game. So that's pretty good. I'll take that. And then when I went and I started looking at, okay, here's the starting pitchers, I looked at it and I go, well, soft contact rate, Manaea is a 27.1, top 25% of all baseball. That means they're not getting a lot of hard hit balls against him. And that's important only in a sense of hard hit balls create damage. Hard hit fly balls go for home runs usually. So you can kind of look at it and go, Manaea's home run rate's pretty good. He's kind of got average metrics. And Festa is one of these guys that he throws hard, but to this day, so far, he's only got a couple of starts, but he has a big inning that kills him. And if you remember yesterday in that game, the Twins started off 1-0. And I gave you a pick on them to be on them for the first 5 yesterday. I'm like, this is pretty good. And then all of a sudden, home run from Alonso. And then the next 6 guys, base hit or a walk. They ended up scoring 6 runs. Well, I don't think there's anything that's going to stop David Festa from having that same problem. So then I looked at it and I go, all right, well, what's going on with the bullpen? Because, there's times when the Mets bullpen's awful, like the dead last awful, there's times. But right now they're 16th. They've pitched 41 innings and only given up 28 hits. That's pretty good. And the Mets, the Twins have pitched 31 innings and allowed 38 hits. So that's not very good. The more hits you allow, especially more than you got in innings pitched, they're gas cans. They're not water putting out the fires. They rank 25th right now. And then offensively, the Minnesota Twins, they rank 16th. They got 5 guys hitting, 4 guys pulling away. They're 10% better than average offense. That's pretty good. That's good enough to bet on. But when you think about what the Mets are, they're 9th, and the Mets are 5th in isolated power, which is what they're trying to do. So I like that. And then they're 26% ahead of it, better than an average offense. And the guys that are hitting, Alonso, McNeil, Lindor, Taylor, and Torrens, right? Well, Torrens may or may not play because, he's a catcher, so sometimes it depends on who's going to play. But if you got Alonso, McNeil, Lindor, you're in pretty good shape. So I like where the Mets stand here, and they're facing a kid that's going to pitch the first time in New York. And to be honest, when I looked at it from a spot of home and away, he's he's not really pitched a lot of away innings, and his away innings have been bad. I don't count them until he's at least got over 40 at-bats, and he doesn't have over 40 at-bats, so I kind of rule it out. But he's not been very good, David Festa. So he's not let's say it this way. He's not a very highly tout in terms of starting pitchers, but he's got good stuff. He throws hard. So I think the Mets at that price point are really good. So we'll make the Mets play number 1 tonight, and then kind of skipping through some of this a little bit just to make sure we stay good on time. Where's my Webby odds? I have the time on here. That's 7:45, and then those are later games. So okay, so we're good. So the next game is 7:45, and this is Texas St. Louis, and we were on Texas yesterday and won with Texas yesterday. This is Scherzer and Lynn, and I'm going to tell you to go back to Texas again today. So I'm not a big Scherzer fan right now, but I'm certainly not a Lance Lynn guy. So right now, I shouldn't say it that way. That makes me sound like I keep these pitchers on a list, and I've got a list of guys I bet on, a list of guys I don't, because I don't have that at all. I could bet on Lance Lynn next week if the situation's right. The situation's not right today, which makes me feel like, okay, I don't want to bet on Lance Lynn today. I want to bet on the Texas Rangers. So the Texas Rangers are the right side. So I want to make sure I clear that up. I don't have a list of pitchers that are bet on. I don't have a list of teams that I bet on. Kind of have certain things in my head about certain situations that come up where I want to be careful on things like let's go here for 1 second, just so I can make sure I have the most accurate data point I can give you. So when the Miami Marlins are playing a left-handed pitcher, I don't care. Just bet on the other team. The Marlins have played 36 pitchers, or 36 left-handed pitchers. 36. Seems like a lot, but I'm looking at some of the other records against them, and they're about 30. There's 100 and some games played already, and so about 30% of the games are against left-handed pitchers. So the Marlins are 22 games under 500 against left-handed pitchers. 22 against right-handed pitchers, they're only 6 games under. So they're pretty competitive against right-handed pitchers. There's 7 wins and 29 losses against left-handed pitchers. So it doesn't matter. Just go. And guess what they faced today? The Rays are throwing Jeffrey Springs. Jeffrey Springs, left-handed pitcher. So it doesn't matter. Go figure out how to bet it. I gave it to my guys. It's a play for my guys. But you gotta figure out where those spots are, right? And that's what I mean by I don't bet on players in certain spots that much, and I don't have a list of play on teams, play off teams. I hear people say that kind of stuff all the time. It's just there's no such thing. There's a reason why to play on certain teams. We're going to talk about one of them tonight. There's a reason why you might want to play on the worst team in Major League Baseball sometimes, and we'll talk about one of those tonight. So let's get into this game with the Rangers. So my number on this game, if I can get to it, and this is interesting because my number, Webby odds, is St. Louis minus 106. St. Louis minus 106. That's the number. And I'm sitting here telling you to go play on the Texas Rangers, and the Texas Rangers are the minus side. So this is an EV negative bet. So I don't do that very often, but let's talk about it. So where is it at? Let's go to here. Let's get the right number now because this game is Scherzer's minus 112. So Scherzer's minus 112. My number says it should be minus 106. So this is a negative EV bet. And if I look at it right, I have it in here right. Where's Texas? There it is. I have it at minus 113, so that's close enough. So my numbers say this is a negative 8% bet. If you make this bet 1,000 times, you're going to be an outcome of a negative 8%. Well, we're going to hope that this is one of those 1,000 times bets that we actually win this one. So this one comes from handicapping skills and the situational spot, as opposed to what Webby odds says, the bet, right? So if you're a top-down bettor, you're line shopping and you're trying to pick off websites. You're trying to go and find an EV situation where this website is offering, or this sports book, shouldn't say website. This sports book is offering, a minus 101, and this one's offering a minus 110. This one's minus 112. This one's minus 120. So the minus 101 is way better, and it's an EV situation that if you make this bet 1,000 times, a lot of times you're going to be able to pick off that number and win. That's what top-down betting is. So people do that, and the more you do that, the more you're going to learn what a good bet looks like. So when you have top-down betting, and then you have a comparison of a bottom-up style betting, which is what I do, because when you bottom up, you create your own number. So I'm creating my number and then shopping my number to the books. And then because of that, I get a different look, a different feel, a different number. And I can shop that number, and I can also top down at the same time, right? So I can do both. So in this particular spot, what I liked about this was, Lance Lynn's made 20 starts for the Cardinals, and he's won 12 times. So a little bit over 500. So that's pretty good for him. But Lance Lynn, SOPS plus last 28 days, he's a 170. So he's 70% worse than an average pitcher when it comes to controlling the opponent's offense. And Max Scherzer's a 111. So he's 11% worse. So Max is really what you almost call just slightly above average. Lance Lynn is awful. Especially right now, he's awful. So where some of this stuff comes in at, and I go to starting pitchers, Lance Lynn metrics-wise, he's the worst one on the board today. That's not good. So hey, Marty Lowe, how you doing, brother? Marty says, hey, my man. So as Lance Lynn comes on, XFIP 5.72, Sierra 5.39, and FIP is 5.85. That's the worst 25% of all of baseball. Well, that's not good. And I get it. Scherzer is not Max Scherzer of more. Marty's asking me what I thought of Flaherty and the Dodgers. Let me. I kind of briefly said that earlier, but let me hit this game and then we'll talk about it. So Lance Lynn, worst metrics, right? And then and so let's talk about metrics for just a second. So we've talked about what FIP is. FIP is fielding independent pitching. And, we talked about what offenses are doing, right? They're trying to put up a squiggle number, not a 1. So they're not trying to get singles. They're trying to get a guy on base, right? So that they'll get a single or a walk, get a guy on base. And they're trying to hit home runs after that. Well, so pitchers are trying to not give up home runs, right? They're not trying to give up squiggle lines. So FIP, fielding independent pitching. So that's taking a pitcher's performance and then relating it to offense of what they're trying to do, right? So isolated power is another way to measure what offenses are trying to do. So a pitcher's FIP is walks, strikeouts, home runs. That's it. That's what he controls on the mound, right? So if he does a really good job there, balls aren't going to be put in play. They're not going to have many chances to score runs because he's controlling everything from the mound. So fielding independent pitching is a pretty significant number. XFIP is the predicted measure of fielding independent pitching based off of what he's done and what his performance looks like and some other, fly ball metrics and some other things. So it gives an indication of where he's at today isn't necessarily where he's going to be at in the next couple of starts. So XFIP is a number I use all the time. I'm looking to compare, okay, this is where he's at today. This is where he's headed. And then let me see what the other pitcher looks like. So I kind of get a gauge of, all right, well, this is kind of what they're doing, right? So XFIP, Scherzer's a 3.55. Well, 3.55 XFIP is top 25% of all of baseball. And Lance Lynn, 5.72, 25% to the worst of all of baseball. So now I got a pitcher in Scherzer that he might not be the best pitcher in the world anymore. But you know what he does? He goes out and he makes sure that the opponent's offense of what they're trying to do, he controls that. And we said that with SOPS plus a little bit. So it's kind of a similar metric, right? Just measured a different way. And Lance Lynn's terrible, right? We just said he had a 170, and this shows that. So see how it's kind of linked together. So when you're asking, let's make sure we say this the right way. So when you're looking at data, make sure you have data that'll answer a question for you. And in this case, the question is, what kind of pitcher do I have in terms of can they control the opponent's offense? Because that's a big question you want to answer. You want to have the answer to that question. And if you use ERA, you're never going to get it. That's not an answer that you're looking for, because it doesn't make it. Earned run average does not produce what I'm just talking to you about. It doesn't, because it's talking about hits and it's talking about balls in play, and we're not. We're talking about home runs, walks, strikeouts. That's it. What a pitcher controls. So Sierra is a different statistic that is where I don't look at earned run average ever. I mean, I just don't. I look at Sierra every day. Sierra is an enhanced version of ERA. So it's not an earned run average, but it gives you an earned run average look. And it's going to be the Sabermetrics version of, this is, and so we just talked about FIP, right? And fielding independent pitching is not including balls in play. Sierra does that. So if you want to know what a pitcher does with hit balls and base hits and and all that stuff, Sierra is the answer. That's the question you're looking for. And again, you have a 3.61 for Scherzer and a 5.40 for Lance Lynn. So now you're looking at almost 2 runs difference in Sierra, and you do have more than 2 runs in XFIP. So in a lot of ways, you can project that out and go, holy crap, the Rangers are going to win this game by at least 2 runs because of my pitchers. So then you extrapolate that a little farther and go, well, what other edges are in there? Well, the biggest other edge is twofold. One, we talked about fielding independent pitching, and part of the problem with the reason why it's so high for Lance Lynn, he walks everybody. He's got a 4.58 walk rate. He's putting 4.5 guys on base every start. That's awful. That's not good. So can Texas take advantage of that? Sure they can, right? Max Scherzer doesn't do that. Max isn't out there striking out everybody like he used to, but he's certainly not in a position where he's walking people. Home run rate, 1.83 for Lance Lynn. I will tell you that if you see a high XFIP number, you're going to have the metrics behind it to support it, which are going to be a high walk rate and high home run rate, specifically high home rate more than a high walk rate. So I already knew that based on his XFIP number, he was going to have one of the two, and it's home runs. It's both. His xWOBA number, right? So we just talked about SOPS plus, and I'm telling you all these acronyms, and hopefully you guys are picking up on some of this stuff. But the xWOBA, right? So weighted on base average, predicted weighted on base. So it's a measure of how he's doing against offenses, not just in an SOPS. SOPS is opponent slugging percentage on base percentage. That's kind of a old school metric. Weighted on base percentage is a new sabermetric statistic that encapsulates a lot. It's way better than batting average. So when you pull this up, he's a 402. 402 is the second worst today. Paxton for the Red Sox has a 403. So he's the second worst by 1/10 of a point, right? So the expected performance based off of his last 30 days of pitching, he's going to get crushed. That's like having a 400 batting average. That's really actually higher because the ex-WOBA number is more than that. So say it's like having a 440 batting average against. That's not good. So you're going to put a pitcher out there, walks everybody, and allows a lot of hits. So I like the idea here that Texas can take advantage of that too. So then, and his whip rate, right? So we just sitting here telling you all this stuff. So his whip rate's got to be high. Well, it's 1.5, right? 1.53. So you got one and a half guys on base every inning. So in 3 innings, there's going to be 5 guys, 6 guys on base. How many of those guys can they bring in? Well, I mean, maybe quite a few. So then you go and flip it over to offense. And you go, let's see if Texas can really take control of that. Well, they're scoring 4.6 runs a game. Well, that's pretty average. And then you look at it from St. Louis side. Well, they're only scoring 3.3 runs a game. So I feel like Max can control that a little bit. So he's going to keep them in that range. And then with Lynn on the mound, Texas can expand theirs a little bit, right? So now we kind of get that. Oh, look, it might be a 5-3 kind of thing right now. So then I stretched out even farther. And the Rangers are 13% better than average team on offense. They rank 14th in offensive WAR, and they have Lowe, Seager, and Grossman that are hitting. Well, Lowe and Seager are I think Seager bats. They got Smith batting 4th, and I think Lowe bats 5th, and I think Seager bats 2nd or 3rd now. Simeon either bats 1st or 2nd, depending on who's batting leadoff for them. Langford fits in there somewhere. So their batting order, the structure is they got good guys sort of stacked together. So if they get on base, they can drive them in, and so they don't need a whole lot. And shit, you get a couple of walks, and they got enough guys on base, and you got Seager and you got Lowe, they'll drive them in, right? That's kind of what you're looking at. And for the Red Sox or for the Cardinals, the 0. They don't have anybody carrying the load for them at over 2 WAR. So I thought it was a good spot, and I think handicapping wise, I looked at it and I go, oh, this is a good spot. Webby odds didn't give me that good spot, but that's why you look at everything, right? So that's play number 2 is the Texas Rangers at that small away favorite. They won yesterday. I expect them to win today. Now I was a little disappointed. This is a World Series champs, right? And they need pitchers. And what do? They trade Lorenzen away, and they don't get another starter. That's okay. I mean, Lorenzen wasn't that much of a help for them, but he was an innings eater. So I'm a little disappointed in a sense that the Texas Rangers haven't done more to help. But I do know that they've got guys theoretically coming to help, but I don't think they're going to come until more towards the end of August. So they got to try to figure out how to stay in the race, and they're good enough, but they just got to keep fighting. That's all. And Seattle, when they were way ahead, never got far enough ahead. Houston passed them. Seattle made a lot of big. I shouldn't say big. They made a lot of moves, and most of the moves are great. Randy Arozarena has already went out, and I think he's already got like something like 4 or 5 hits in 2 games, and he's already hit a home run for them. So I think, and they just got Justin Turner. So, they're not going to strike out 30% of the time anymore. They're going to get more hits. They're going to play better, and they got some more bullpen help. So Seattle, I think is, I thought they were going to go away, but they're not. They're going to be in there at the end because they got pitching to get there. Now, Marty says, hey, what do you think about Flaherty to the Dodgers? I was excited about Jack Flaherty because I think that he was a great bet. He was a great bet on guy for the Detroit Tigers. I've made a lot of money betting on the Detroit Tigers this year and in spots. They're not the greatest offense in the world. And certainly now that they've been a little damaged with their players, like Riley Green's not playing, and he's a big blow. He's a good player, Riley Green. and Kerry Carpenter hasn't been there for a month, and he was a big deal too. So Torkelson never flourished the way he did a year ago. That's a team that is on the verge of being pretty good, but they still are missing a lot of pieces. They got Tariq Skubal and Reese Olson, and those two guys can pitch, and they had Jack Flaherty. So Jack Flaherty, in my opinion, is pitching like a number one starter. I don't know if I would go to the degree in which to say, okay, if he was matched up against Glasnow, that Glasnow stuff wouldn't be just exciting and obliterate Jack Flaherty stuff. But at the same time, Jack Flaherty's a bulldog. He's got this attitude thing about him that nothing bothers him, and he goes out and he pitches well. And the Dodgers needed a guy like that because that's a flashy place to play with flashy players, and there's a lot of expectation there. They didn't go out and spend $1 billion on Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto for nothing. They expect to win. So bringing in Flaherty is a big key to that. And when you have a rotation that is currently existent of let's go get that for a second. When your rotation for the Dodgers is roster restarts, there we go. Dodgers, their rotation. Tyler Glasnow, Clayton Kershaw, Gavin Stone, Justin Robleski, River Ryan. That's what they got. So Kershaw's made one start. Gavin Stone's been a godsend for them, but if I was going to put him in a playoff game, he wouldn't necessarily be a guy that I think can go and win that game. His stuff's good, but it gets you through the season good, right? I mean, it's not like the greatest thing in the world. Whereas Glasnow goes out, Glasnow in a playoff game can go strike out 10 guys. And it's a big difference. Jack Flaherty can go get you eight strikeouts and put the ball where it needs to go. He's not going to throw 100 miles an hour, but he's going to throw a good cheese up there, and he's going to make the ball move. And he's a veteran, solid, young pitcher. He's only 28 years old. So I think that say you have Glasnow and then you have Flaherty, and then if you want to pass Stone third and then Kershaw fourth in the playoffs, or if you want to put Kershaw in there and then that would be a good thing, right? Put Kershaw in and then have Stone come in on top of him and then put in your bullpen. That wouldn't be terrible. So I think that solidifies what the Dodgers needed. This River Ryan kid's been pretty good, but his stuff doesn't measure out, when you look at him on Pitcher Plus. So I think if he was in a playoff game, that wouldn't bode well for the Dodgers. I'm a little disappointed that the last thing I saw on Max Muncy is that he's not anytime due soon, as things have been pushed back for him. Max Muncy reminds me of one of those guys that bats 220 or whatever. He bats higher than that, but say he bats 220, but he hits 40 home runs. He's like Schwarber. And the problem isn't that he does that. It's that when he's in a playoff game, he's a dangerous guy. In a regular season game, okay, whatever. But in a playoff game, he matters, right? Because of what he can do with the bat. So that team needs him. They need Will Smith to get back to hitting. And they'll get Mookie Betts back when Mookie Betts comes back. This is going to be the Dodgers. And you're going to have a magnificent offensive lineup. They brought in guys to play. I mean, I can't recall off the top of my head with all the different things that happened today. Like they brought in Kevin Kiermaier. Well, why would they do that? Well, because they might need a guy to come on in a playoff game and put him on first base and steal second base and then steal third base and need a run to score. Or they might need a defensive replacement player, to come in. So there's other players that they got too. I just can't remember off the top of my head who they are. I can go back through the list, but I'm impressed with what the Dodgers did with Jack Flaherty. Of course, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't say that I would be impressed with anybody with what they did with Jack Flaherty. Certain things surprised me. Like I did not expect the Baltimore Orioles to go and bring in Eloy Jimenez. I didn't expect that at all. Well, I don't, they already have outfield problems in terms of the kids coming up that they need to figure out where they're going and what they're doing. I mean, I get it. They traded a couple of them away to get some relief help and some other things from Miami, but the reality of it is that some of these guys just do some stuff make you scratch your head, but there's a purpose behind a lot of it. There's a purpose for some of that stuff. So anyway, good questions. Keep them coming. If you have questions, I'll be glad to jump in there and try to do them. I'm going to talk about a couple of spots here, and one of the things I'm not a big proponent of, but I'm going to talk about this game. I'm not a big proponent of betting on bad teams when they play each other. Sometimes you can bet bad teams in spots against good teams, and you can find places to play them. But we were successful over the weekend betting on a bad team in Oakland A's against the Los Angeles Angels, right? I mean, those are two bad teams, and we were successful in a sense of betting on the Oakland A's. Well, we're kind of in that same spot here. The Angels play the Colorado Rockies tonight, and if I pull this game up and I look at the numbers on this game, you have Quantrill against Kannon. Kannon is minus 131. It opened at minus 135, so not much movement in the game, and I get that. There probably shouldn't be a lot of movement in the game because it's hard. The reason these games are harder to predict is because they're bad teams. Bad teams do stupid stuff. Bad teams make mistakes where good teams don't. Bad teams make managerial choices that aren't very good where good teams don't. So you have inconsistent performance by these teams. So that's a red flag. So it's hard to bet these games. But here's what I will say. This is a good value spot. So when my numbers came out, when I looked at them this morning, and I bring these back over here so I can get this stuff right in front of me. The Colorado Rockies play at the Angels tonight. And my odds on this game are minus 138. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, that's about right? Because 131 was the number. And so I'm saying, okay, why is this a spot to bet this game? I like the Rockies in this game. And I like the Rockies as an underdog. And here's why. We start with how does a pitcher control the opponent's offense, right? So we look at it and we go, well, Quantrill, he's a 139. Well, that's not very good. He's 39% worse than average offense, but he's better than Kannon, 159. So neither one of these guys are good at controlling the opponent's offense. However, the record for the Colorado Rockies, look at me go by shutting that down. The Colorado Rockies record in is standings. Where are they? The Colorado Rockies. The Colorado Rockies are 38-69. 38-69. It's not very good. And when you look at the pitcher that's pitching for them tonight, and you go, he's made 21 starts. So you'd figure he's probably won 5 times, right? 5 and 16 kind of matches up to where they are. No, he's got a winning record. Quantrill, when he starts for the Rockies, they're 11-10. I get it. It's one game. But when you have one game and you've got that many losses, he can. Well, what did we say? 38 wins, 39 wins, whatever it is. He's won 1/3 of them. When he starts, they win 1/3 of the whole season just because he starts. Okay, that's a big deal. Over the season, his SOPS plus is a 113. On the road, he's a 110, which makes sense because you got to look at Colorado in a different way, because at home he's worse, 115. So he's better on the road than he is at home. So I like him being able to control that. So, all right, you go back to the pitchers then again, and you go, oh, these guys have, both of them are in the negative minus 25% range, up to being worst in metrics, right? They're not very good at metrics. Both of them have high walk rates, but Kannon gives up home runs. Kannon gives up hits. So Canning's a 1.88 whip rate, almost two guys getting on every inning, and a 319 batting average. That's terrible. And his WPA, winning percent added, is minus 57. Again, worst 25% of baseball. Quantrill's not in those spots. I mean, he's average in those spots. So you have differentiation there. But where you get even further is you got to go and say, well, can Colorado actually take advantage of this bad pitcher? And you go and say, look at the offense. And right now, there's times you want to bet on the Angels offense, but it isn't now. The Angels are 22nd in all of baseball and in offensive WAR. But one of the categories we really need to probably fine tune a little better is you look at isolated power, because that's what offenses are trying to do. Remember, they're trying to hit damaging blows and score runs. So you look at them, they're dead last, 30 out of 30 teams at hitting damaging blows and power. And then when you look at what does their offense really look like, they got one guy that's over one WAR on offense. So everybody else is pulling down that offense. They got 7 guys that are higher than one WAR negative. So you got one guy, Shanuel, he's the leadoff hitter, but he's kind of carrying their load. But Colorado, they have 3 guys that are doing okay, 4 guys that are not. But the reality becomes is, I think Colorado can actually win this game. I think they can. Matt says, hey, Scott, I know you've seen a lot of good ball players over the years. What are your thoughts about Kansas City Royals and Bobby Witt? Okay, well, that's a good question, because, Bobby Witt is an interesting player because where Bobby Witt is in terms of what his game is today versus what it might look like in 5 years, I think is kind of interesting, because when I pull up, let's do it this way. When I pull up projected numbers, right, for the rest of the season, and you kind of look at them, and I'm looking at batters right now. Aaron Judge is number 1, 9.7 projected WAR. Juan Soto is number 2, 9.1. Bobby Witt is number 3. So if that doesn't tell you that he's one of the best players, if not, like if he played in the National League, he'd be the best player in the National League, right? Theoretically, depending on how Judge and Soto do sort of going down the road, I think Bobby Witt is dynamite. So when you think about what Bobby Witt offers, Bobby Witt offers virtually everything that the other players don't, right? He can steal bases. He's a good defender. He hits doubles, right? He's I want to look at him for a second in terms of, say, let's look at him in regards to kind of where they're at this way. There we go. So if I pull him up and I just look at him in terms of, let's see. I can do this. I thought I could do this a different way. Positions. That's what I want. I want to look at him just in terms of shortstops, right? So Bobby Witt has a 7.2 earned WAR so far this season. And the next closest guy is Gunnar Henderson at 5.9. And Gunnar Henderson was way ahead of him earlier in the season, but Gunnar's kind of has come back. But what makes up WAR, right? Well, offensive WAR, which is what I look at for these teams on a lot of things. Bobby Witt's a 40.1, so he's already earned those. I mean, those are earned numbers. 40.1. Gunnar Henderson is a 36, so that's just ranking on offense. Doesn't include defense yet. And your WAR number is made up of offensive WAR and defensive WAR. So when you look at defensive WAR, he's a 14.4. No shortstop. The next shortstop that's closest to him is Anthony Volpe at 12.7. 14.4 is the best defensive shortstop in baseball. So he's the best offensive shortstop, the best defensive shortstop. He's hand and fist over the next closest guy to him. So, for example, Bobby Witt's a 7.2 WAR. Gunnar Henderson's 5.9, second place. That's 1.3 WAR difference. Gunnar Henderson to Ellie De La Cruz is 5.9 to 5.2, 0.7. And then Ellie De La Cruz to Francisco Lindor is a 5.2 or 5.1. So it's 0.1. So 1.3 WAR is a J.P. Crawford. J.P. Crawford's 1.4 WAR. So you could add J.P. Crawford to Gunnar Henderson and have a Bobby Witt. That's how good Bobby Witt is. So Bobby Witt has 19 home runs. Henderson has 28. Lindor has 22. What I was looking for was RBIs. And because ideally on a team like the Royals, Bobby Witt is everything. He's the guy that gets on base. He's the guy that steals bases. He's the guy that does all kinds of different things. Obviously, he's a great defender, but he's the catalyst that makes everything go. But he's also going to have to drive in runs. He has 75 RBIs. That's a lot. Comparatively, the next closest RBI guy is Willie Adames, 71. So, look, if you want to tell me that Bobby Witt is not somebody that people know because he plays in Kansas City, I believe you. But he's kind of like these guys sometimes that play on the West Coast that you don't get to see on the East Coast because it's nighttime and you don't know how good they are, and they sort of sometimes play a different brand of ball out there. But I would tell you that I think that Bobby Witt is only going to get better from where he is today. Bobby Witt, how old is he? Bobby Witt is there he is. Bobby Witt's 24 years old. 24. I think that you're going to see. I don't want to say drastic improvement because it's very hard to improve on what he's doing. But I think you're going to see a guy that is going to get to a point where he's going to hit as he progresses and fills out and gets to know the league, and he's going to hit 40 home runs. He's a guy that's going to steal 50 bases or more. He's a guy that's going to drive in 100 runs for years. At least 30 home runs. He's got 19 already this year, right? So I think you're going to see a guy. Last year he hit 30 home runs, had 96 RBIs. He had a 5.9 WAR last year. He's already got 7.2 this year. So 7.2 WAR and above, guys, he's MVP quality caliber player. That's what he is. Those three guys that we just talked about was Judge, Soto, and Bobby Witt. Those guys are MVPs. They're not Joe Schmoes that are around the corner. They're the best players in the game. So when I think about where he's at and what he's doing and kind of where he's going from there, I think I'm trying to look. Here we go. Zips does a projection for say 3 years out. So when I look at where he's at for say 3 years out, they're calling for 100 runs, 100 RBIs, 35 stolen bases every year. So he's one of these guys that's he's young, 24 years old. When you're in your prime, usually you start to hit the front edge of your prime at 26, and you kind of into the back end of your prime when you're 29, 30. So he's got that kind of 4-year window. He ain't even made it yet. So he's going to do a lot of things as long as he stays healthy. And from what I've really seen of him, he's been a pretty healthy player for the most part. So great question, Matt. I think that hopefully that answers your question. My opinion of Bobby Witt Jr. is, And I'm not a big guy about some of these broadcasters and stuff, but I guess Stone, the guy that does, I forget if he does Cubs games or White Sox games, but made a comment, and I saw it on Twitter or wherever I was looking the other day. And one of the comments was he was in the booth and he said, you know what? For my money, if I had to go and do everything, give me Bobby Witt over Shohei Ohtani. That's what he said. And, based on what I'm looking at today, Shohei Ohtani wasn't in the top three. But, next year, Shohei Ohtani is going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball, right? So when you look at what Shohei Ohtani's value is and Bobby Witt's value is, are two different things. Bobby Witt does a lot. He does a ton of things for the Kansas City Royals. And if Shohei Ohtani can go out and be a 20-game winner, I mean, I don't know that he can, but say he can go out and be a 20-game winner and then hit 30, 40 home runs and do what he's doing for the Dodgers now, that kind of stuff. Holy cow! But there's going to be an end to that. At some point, Shohei Ohtani is not going to pitch. At some point, he's got Tommy John. He had some different things. At some point, he's not going to be able to have his body hold up, and he won't be able to pitch. He'll just be a hitter. And okay, if he's not one of the best hitters in baseball, then he doesn't have a spot. So at some point, Shohei is going to have to. We're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with him, because his true value, his major true value, is being able to pitch at the level in which he can pitch. Because some old school guys like myself are probably not going to like this comment, but they talk about, Babe Ruth being a two-way player, right? Babe Ruth, he used to pitch and he got all this number of wins. You ever watch Babe Ruth pitch? Yeah, you ever heard about what Babe Ruth did pitching? It's not even close to what real pitching is. He didn't throw a large number of innings. He's not a big velocity guy or whatever. He just pitched, right? So that's way different than what Shohei Ohtani does. Shohei Ohtani is one of the best pitchers in the game when he's pitching, and when he's on, he's dramatic, strikeout guy, and throws can throw 100 miles an hour and all that stuff. So I think that there's a super dynamic difference between the quality of athlete that you are with Shohei Ohtani than you were with Babe Ruth, and I don't mean to take anything away with Babe Ruth. I'll say this, and I'll say it till whatever. Jeff Dawson hates it when I say it. The guys that played baseball 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and beyond, guys, just put them in the back of your head. Those were great players. Remember them for what they are. They can't play today. The game has evolved. The pitchers are totally different. The velocities have changed. And Jeff always goes, well, you've got Pedro and all these guys that used to. Okay, you can throw me Pedro, and I'm just going to tell you that Pedro's stuff is an average stuff compared to what they do today. It was just so dynamic then because he got movement on the ball, got spin rates, got stuff to do that nobody else was doing. Everybody's doing it now. Everybody. So his stuff is no better than anybody else's stuff today. And I know people aren't going to like me to say that because they want to keep their guys the way they are, and I do too. Like I old school baseball is great, but it's old school baseball. People don't really realize how good these players are today. Like these are the best players that have ever played the game. They just are. And especially on the mound. It's unbelievable what they're able to do at the velocity they're able to throw and the movement on the ball. The average, if I were to say the telling thing to you guys about Major League Baseball is you got to start with college. If you're a major college conference in a big school and you're recruiting a pitcher out of high school, The pitcher needs to throw 92 miles an hour, or they're not even going to look at it. 93. Because they'll take that guy that throws 92, 93, and they'll stretch him out, and they'll get him up to 96, 97, 98. So that's the way the game is. Everybody throws that way. You're going to see Major League Baseball velocities average not top out yet. It's going to be 96, 97, 98. And then all of a sudden you're going to see guys throwing 110. It's unbelievable what's going on. And then you're going to have guys try to hit it. There's a video clip on Twitter or somewhere that talks about the dynamic of hitting a baseball from a pitcher and what your eye has to see and how long you have to make a decision from your brain to actually swing the bat to hit the ball. And in that video, if you ever get a chance to watch it, the most telling thing about it is, and this is why guys swing and miss, and this is why guys swing at stuff that isn't there, and this is why pitching is so tough, because the ball moves. Your eye tells your brain that the ball is here, and the ball is going to be in this spot. So swing the bat in this spot. But when you go to swing the ball there, you don't see it. You don't see the ball. It's a mental image in your brain of what your eye saw and what you think is where it's going to go versus actually what it does. So you're swinging at a digital image in your brain of where the ball is at the plate. It's amazing. So if you ever get a chance to see that clip, it's probably worth a little bit of your time. I think it's a 3-minute clip. It's not very long. But it's really good for the understanding of what today's baseball is. And Jeff always goes, well, how's come they're not scoring runs? Well, Jesus Christ, because they're trying to swing at pitches that aren't there. Right? I mean, that's what's going on. And yet they still can hit them. I mean, how many home runs they hit, but that's because what they're trying to do is hit home runs. So anyway, I think as we go down these paths and you kind of look through all this stuff, that's kind of where baseball is. That's what's going on. It's a dynamic, evolved game. It's just like football, right? If you're a linebacker today, what are you? You're 6'3", 225 pounds, and you can run a you can run a 4.5 40. Well, if you were that big, 25 years ago, right? You would be like the king of the hill today, in those games. You could play wide receiver, for God's sakes, because the guys didn't run that fast. So when everything evolves, sports evolve, players evolve, athletes evolve, the dynamics of the technology evolve, and baseball is no different with that. And to a certain degree, it's not nearly as fun to watch, in a sense of there's less action, right? Because so they made some changes to the rules to kind of create some action, which is great. Didn't necessarily improve run scoring, but it created more action, right? Guys are stealing bases, there's more athletic plays being made, and that's fun. That's good. That's what you want for the game. But the way the game is played is not the same, because it's too hard to play the old school way and score a bunch of runs, because the pitchers won't let you. I don't know how to say it other than, I know people like Pete Rose and think that Pete Rose can go up there and just slap the ball all over the place and get a bunch of hits and hit the ball to left field and do this and do that. Well, he can't if they pitch the ball in a spot where he can't hit it to left field. And that's what they do, right? So I get it, Rod Carew and all these old school guys that could hit, they talk about all the time. Look, their value is less. I will say this. Let's pull this up 1 second, just because I want to give you a perspective on one thing. if I go and we'll look at it from a perspective of earned WAR already, right? So these are the value of the players that are playing and what they've got and kind of how they've done, and all the players, not teams, players. There we go. So I look at the players and in terms of earned awards, stuff that's not projected but earned. You got Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt, and then Juan Soto, right? So who's the guy that everybody always talks about? That's like Tony Gwynn was, and like all these guys. They talk about Luis Ariz, right? So I'm going to go find Luis Ariz and see where he's at. The best way to do it is to pull up the team and then kind of get what his number is. Ariz, there he is. So just on the Padres, not listed in any other order than that. He's a 300 hitter, right? He's probably gonna be close to leading the league in hits. So he's got to have value. That's got to be great, right? It goes Profar, Kim, Tatis, Merrill, Cronenworth, Higashioka, Bogarts, Machado, Ariz. Ariz is 9th, just on the Padres. He doesn't have one WAR yet. He's 0.6 is what his value is. So 0 is a call-up AAA batter. He's a 0.6 ahead of that. And if I put that same thing in here in regards to all teams, all players, 0.6. Let's go. Where's 0.6? 0.6. This takes it a second because I'm loading all the players. 0.6 is all the way down at Luis Ariz is in the neighborhood of 220th because there's several guys at 0.6. He's either let's see where's his actual number. Where is he actually at? Luis Ariz, he's 212th in Major League Baseball. So when you're asking for and wanting those kinds of players, understand that that's not the way the game's played anymore. And the data, and whether you like the data or you don't like the data, is how do I say this? Non-disputable in terms of what the value to the player is. He's 212th rated player. Andy Pages and Mark Canha right there with him. That's where Luis Ariz ranks in terms of batters and players. I thought that was interesting that maybe you guys could know those things. I suppose the better way to do that would be though is to let's rank him one other way. Well, that's his total WAR, so that includes defense, and he's a terrible defender. So let's give him credit for offense. He's a 3.3 on offense, not a 0.6. So this will move him up. So let's give him a little bit more credence here. There you go. So if we grade him just by offense, he's a 128th. I bet you didn't think that, right? He's behind Jackson Churio and just in front of Kyle Higashioka. And Kyle Higashioka is 3.3 as well. That's the value of his offense. It's not very good, to be honest. When you sit there and you think about kind of where he's at and what he's doing and what value he provides to a team, and you go, oh, it's 300 hitter. He's got to lead the league in hits. Okay, well, you got to lead the league in damaging blows, man. That's the way baseball works. You've got to drive in runs. You've got to score runs. You got to steal bases. You got to hit some doubles. You got to do more than just slap the ball a certain place or whatever, because the game is not played that way, and data tells you not to play that way. Otherwise, Luis Ariz would be getting paid a lot of money to produce that kind of a result. And I guess the reality is these guys all make a lot of money. In some way, shape, or form, they're all making some kind of money. So anyway, guys, I gone 100, an hour and 25 minutes here. We got another big crowd. There's 170 people on here tonight. I was looking on Twitter there for a second. I don't know what necessarily is going on with Twitter. I didn't see the videos coming up, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But there's a lot of people on here live. And look, I'm going to say this over and over and over. I appreciate every one of you guys coming on here. I appreciate the comments, the feedback that we're getting. I don't want to sit here and say that I apologize for kind of where we went at the beginning of the show. I'm a very passionate man, and I'm not a soft person, and I don't like soft things. So all of my life I've been in a supervisory role. I was a catcher on a baseball team, so I ran the team right on the field. I used to have meetings, like I remember we were playing a game, and we made an error, right? And then the next guy comes up and we made another error, and then another guy gets on base, and I called a break, and I went out to the team, and they all come in, right? And I'm talking to the pitcher, but I'm not really talking to the pitcher. I was talking to the team, and I said, "Look, guys, I understand that you're not out here trying to make outs, but you're sure as hell not out here trying to make errors. So you're out here. You made these 3 mistakes. You're not out here trying to make those mistakes, right? But you're sure as hell not out here trying to make outs. So let's start making outs." And I turn around and walk back. That's the way I feel about a lot of things, right? Focus, concentration, effort. It matters. It matters in everything you do. Get fired up about waking up and attacking whatever it is that you need to get involved in that day. Get it done. Move on to the next thing and keep going, right? I spent the day today doing several things. One of them is pick 6 previews. I told you guys in an article, and maybe on the show a little bit, I do a lot of football work too, but I'm not a proponent of having the same information that everybody else does. Otherwise, you're going to do what everybody else thinks, and you're going to have the same opinion. Pick 6 is very good. It's college previews. You can go to their website. You can order the book. I don't remember. It's like $27. So it was good. And then this book comes in. I got that, and you can see how big it is. But the reality is that if I'm a data guy, I'll put it up here so you can see it again. This is Aaron Schatz. He used to run, if you're familiar with it, he used to run Pro Football Outsiders. Pro Football Outsiders went out of business, so he now works for FTN. FTN is a fantasy football group and baseball. They have their own website or whatever. He's the guy who created DVOA, right? So it's right here, DVOA. So obviously you guys know I'm a Sabermetric guy. I work with that stuff every day, all the time. Well, DVOA is Sabermetrics for football. And it's interesting to get these information points, because if you just use Phil Steele, if you just use, VSiN catalogs, Lindy's books, Athlon's books, all those different things that you go to the drugstore to buy, the reality is you're going to have a skewed way of thinking, because that skewed way of thinking is what everybody else has. And then when they make the bets and you do stuff, you're like, oh, I'm going to bet this game. Well, so does everybody else. They want to bet that way because that's what they've read, right? So we talked about that. So this is the stuff that you get passionate about. So you need to get to a point where how do I say this the right way? You need to get to a point where every day you're passionate about data coming into your brain and what you do with it as an output. The more positive things you can put in here and the more smart things you can put in here, the greater return on that investment you're ever going to make. So go out and absorb whatever information you can get your hands on. Trust yourself to go and say, well, this is bullshit. I don't want that information, and get rid of it. Get it out of your life, get it out of your head, get it out of your brain, because if you don't do that, it's going to get in the way of all the good stuff. Keep only the good stuff in your brain. Keep only the good things there, right? We talked about it, I think, one time, and I gave that kind of advice out, I think, and it was what was it called? It was called a quorum of experts, or a quorum of how did that go? I'm trying to look it up for a second. It's called a quorum of experts, right? So surround yourself with just a handful of people, whatever they are, and that's your quorum of experts. And in that quorum of experts, you trust them implicitly with the information that they're giving you, so that you can take that information and then make it real to whatever it is you're trying to turn as an outcome. But those are the inputs you need. Focus your life on getting inputs, so that you can digest the data to create the outputs that come from those inputs. And if it's good inputs, your outputs are going to be great. Be passionate about learning and be passionate about getting that information. Don't be passionate about going, oh, I'm getting free picks. Who cares? Be passionate about the learning part, because at some point in time, somewhere down the line, whatever the things, you're going to have to figure it out. But if you figure it out because somebody taught you how, then you're in great shape. Or if you're getting the right information, then you're in great shape. The greatest thing that's ever happened to me is I don't know if you guys know who Ski Profit is. I think probably some of you do. Ski Profit used to pay me to teach him about baseball. He's a good basketball handicapper as his own. Well, now Ski Profit has, I don't know, 70,000 followers on Twitter and blah, blah, blah. And he grew up learning about baseball because he was part of paying me for picks and how I did things and kind of went through there. So what I'm suggesting is when people actually learn certain behaviors and skills and then accelerate those behaviors and skills even beyond where I'm at or beyond what I've done, that's the greatest thing I can think of, right? So that's kind of what I'm talking about is look, I'm not perfect, and I have energy to do certain things, and I have energy to do a lot of stuff. And sometimes I've been given opportunity to do certain things, sometimes I haven't. And at this moment in time, what I'm looking for is people that I can show things to, teach things to, so I can get you guys to be better betters, to learn how to do stuff, to avoid all the nonsense that's out there, to certainly have fun, but it is what it is, and we kind of go from there. And if you take it and run with it, and you call me one day and you go, hey Scott, I learned this and that, and I turned this part of what you said into my own thing, and this is now how I do it, and by God, this is great, right? That's kind of the idea. The idea is that sharing the information, sharing what you look at, sharing the different stuff every day, and kind of the viewpoints and thoughts around it makes you better. So anyway, follow me on Twitter, guys. I appreciate everybody being on the show. I appreciate all of the different things that we do and all the stuff that happens every day. And our following's getting better. So yes, those likes that you hit, the retweet buttons that you hit, the stuff that goes on is very important. It helps the channel grow. And as we're going, we're dominating, we're dominating on Jeff's show anyway, his network. We're doing really good. We ended up with over 300 views the other day on the show from Monday. And, I don't normally even do shows on Monday. So normally, we're getting to a point where we have 200 people on here. We got like 170 today. So we're doing great. Just keep going. If you go to my website and you want to get the information I put out, it's there. If you want to sign up to get the newsletter, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Every time I put something in, Matt says, love your show. Thanks. Hey, Matt, listen, you guys are talking. It's great. I love it. I appreciate you guys doing this stuff. The interaction has been very much better, so that's all good. But if you go to the website and you want to do the newsletter, you can do that. If you want to be a client, It's $100, man. $100 for the whole season, for the whole year. You get the rest of baseball, you get all football. If that's what you want, you can do those things too. You learn more. Helps the channel, helps me, helps everything out. So if you want to do that, you can do that too. But other than that, guys, let's have a good night tonight. Let's win some money. And what is today? Today's Tuesday, so I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do some things tomorrow. I don't know. Let's see. Look at tomorrow's numbers. We got because I know there's a lot of day games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what? Maybe we won't do a show tomorrow because maybe we should do a noon show. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 5 games tomorrow night, and you're going to have Pirates Astros, so that'll be a big line. Giants A's will be a big number. I don't think people are going to want to bet Giants Angels, so there's only a couple games to even talk about. So I'm not sure we should do a show tomorrow night. So maybe we'll do a show. Keep an eye on updates and stuff. I don't know what Jeff's schedule looks like, so I might not be able to get on. I will say this: we're not going to do a show tomorrow night because it doesn't do us any good to do a show tomorrow night. And then Tuesday or Thursday, when Thursday comes, we won't be doing that show either because there's only 5 games that day, and the NFL's got their preseason game started. So if I'm not on during the day tomorrow, I won't be back until Friday. So it is what it is, and we'll go from there because that way I don't waste anybody's time in talking about stupid stuff. So, guys, have a great night. Thank you so much. Again, love the support. Like, retweets, do all that stuff. I don't know. Do the stuff. Do all the stuff that those influencers on the social media channels tell you to do to help the channel grow, right? I think they say something to the effect of I don't know. They say hit the bell. You got to hit the bell button or something. You got to subscribe. I think they say subscribe. I don't know. Whatever they do, whatever they say, that I need to capture that and use that phrase and see if we can do some stuff. So anyway, guys, have a great night.